With practice and qualifying in the books from Las Vegas, Brian and I are in to talk all things Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is the South Point 400.
400. Yes, sir.
It's late out here on the West Coast. Brian is live from Vegas. He was at the track today. We'll get some insider thoughts. We'll get some Bubba Wallace money line parlays of the week, and
Oh my gosh.
talk all things South Point 400. All of that and more on today's Angle of Pursuit podcast.
Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack.
Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
Brian Twining, you were at Las Vegas Motor Speedway all day today. You saw practice, you saw qualifying,
Right.
you even saw some Xfinity. How's it going? How's the track? How are the drivers? How's life?
Well, I'll start off with saying it was windy as all get out these previous 2 days. Like we're
Isn't the
talking,
fall race the one when it's really, really windy? Like I remember being there.
yeah, traditionally it's the fall
Yeah.
race. I know the spring was like this too, but
Yeah.
yeah, the last 2 days have been extremely windy, much cooler temperatures than we normally have this time of year. However, I believe last year when I was here, it was like 80 some, it was mid to high
Yeah.
80s, and today it was barely cracked 70. Tomorrow for the Cup race, we're recording this Saturday evening. It's probably going to be mid to high 70s. So yeah, much cooler
Sounds
than normal.
glorious. That wind goes away, you'll be loving
Oh
life.
yeah, much cooler than normal. Yeah, I'm stoked to be here. I actually split early from the track today for the Xfinity race, which I'm now regretting after seeing Mr. Dinger get a W there. I would have loved to have been able to ask him a few questions in the media room, but it is what it is. I had to get home, I had to get some writing done. I had some honeydews while I'm here in the Las Vegas condo, and
Yeah,
I'm
watch the Yankees go to the World
yeah,
Series.
yeah, but this is NASCAR weekend, my friend. Look, I love my Yankees. I am branded for life. I got the logo tattooed on myself, but up 3-1 in the series, I can afford to put that in this in the mini TV while I was watching Xfinity and shopping lines here. Like this is all about the South Point 400. I
It's
am
amazing.
stoked for this race, having a ton of pre-flop value as the king of plus CLV. So hopefully it pays off this weekend.
Imagine if we could just be that CLV credit, just get it somehow.
Right?
It'd be so nice.
It could be like,
Uh,
think about it. So they have sites like that though, where you
yeah,
can just buy and sell bets. And if this was the case, if we could do this with NASCAR stuff, I'd be a millionaire.
millionaire. Just sell off your stuff to Worm. Let him buy you 80% and call it a day.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna present my screen. I am going to show some DraftKings pricing, and we'll just go through it. We'll talk about who was good, who was bad, who was interesting. I'm gonna pull up the practice report. I have that here. I have my other stuff up. Let's talk Kyle Larson, 11.5. Big price discrepancy between him and kind of the rest of the field. Then we talk Byron, 10.8. Dennis Hamlin, 10.6. Christopher Bell, the pole sitter, yet again, 10.3. And Tyler Reddick at an even 10K. We're going to have some fun building lineups this week, I think. The big question of the week is to Kyle Larson or not Kyle Larson, because if he dusts the field and is that dude and is what we've seen here at different
Yeah.
times, 11.5 is going to be just fine. But if he has a short day, if he has a fine day, the 5 starting 5th could be interesting. I guess. Are you gonna have some Kyle Larson exposure when we're building lineups? Do you want to make sure we get some of him in our main GPP contests?
5 of 7. That's how many races since joining HMS Larson has finished first or second here at Las Vegas. So 100% yes, you need Larson in one or many of your lineups. Despite what practice may say or qualifying, like he's only had the pole here once, so it's not like this is a surprise that he's not on the front row. He is the king of Las Vegas. There's just something about this track that suits his driving style, that he has zero worries coming into here, and so it would be a mistake to fade Larson this week.
Yeah, even at that
Oh yeah,
price.
I mean, okay, good. Just last thing on Larson, the last 3 races here, the least amount of laps he's led at this track is 63. I mean, that's
we're
like
gonna have to get
20% of the race.
The question will be, what does his ownership percentages look like, and
Yeah,
is it worth it even to try and get onto someone else? So if we're not doing Larson, we have Byron starting 9th, Hamlin, Bell, and Tyler Reddick. Who would be your favorite option out of that group?
so ideally, I'm going to ride with my guy Red Dog, who was probably the best car overall, like on the long run here in the springtime. And to a man, the couple of drivers that I asked this question to, it's because of the cooler temperatures. There is a lot more correlation to this weekend's race to the spring than we've had in years past. So clearly you can look at who was really good here in the spring and expect them to run very similar this weekend. And with Reddick qualifying on the front row, he looked fantastic in practice. All the Toyotas look actually really good. So it's going to be hard not to get there. But Denny Hamlin and 2311 as the owner, he is in full FU mode right now, in my opinion. So I think this is a Denny week for DFS and betting purposes, because this is the first time that Hamlin has started this high up since the fall of 2021 when he won here. Hamlin never qualifies well in Vegas, and he still finishes inside the top 8, I believe it is. This guy is best starting position in quite some time. He has survived the round of 12. He's got all this shit going on between him and NASCAR, and he is out to get a championship. So for me, it's Denny. I am all in, as you would say, with the A and the 11.
I like that. I think that's very, very interesting. I think the fact that, to your point, this is his best starting position since he won.
Yep.
If you look at kind of driver rating, he's definitely been, like, basically beyond Larson, he's been the best. Yeah, lots of like starting near the back or the middle and moving into the top 10. He was 5th here in October 2022, 11th, 10th, 8th. Obviously had a drivetrain issue in 22 when he was a top 10 car most of the day until he wasn't, and then the win, top 5. Yeah.
And then I also think the most important part about this, when looking at it from a DFS perspective as well, is Byron and Kyle Larson, I think, are going to hedge most of Hamlin's roster percentage. And then when you have Bell, who qualified on the pole for the 3rd consecutive race and who is probably the championship favorite right now outside of Larson, and Reddick slightly below him, who was quite possibly the best car here in the spring, I think Hamlin falls in that spot where he's probably going to be the least paid attention to guy of all of the drivers in this 10K range, in my opinion. So I think you're getting a little bit of deviance from what the masses are going to be doing here.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's some, like, Reddick, Bell, Hamlin, Byron, Larson, you can make compelling cases for all of them at their salary, given where they're starting. And I wouldn't fault anybody who went any of those ways. So I think, would it shock me to see Larson kind of have the most ownership and then everyone else be pretty similar? No. Would it be shocking to see maybe Byron and Hamlin be a significant tier below the Bell, Reddick, Larson group? Not at all. And I think you'll have to make some decisions there, but it's really interesting just to see kind of where ownership may shake out. And who's going to pick who, because like I said, all those guys make a ton of sense. Let's talk 9Ks because I think the conversation gets a little wild there. Joey Logano 10th. Chase Elliott looked amazing, but he's starting 18th. He's 9,500. We'll see. YRB going to the backup car. You did mention he hit the wall pretty hard.
It was a gnarly hit.
We'll see what Sunday brings. If you are penciling, like Blaney makes so much sense for a guy who's been awesome here, given where he's starting. But also, I don't know. You like basically is there a potential that he misses this race? But like
So
playoffs on the line, and
look, I don't know what NASCAR's concussion protocol is, but I would assume if this was like the NFL, he would have immediately had to go to the tent and get evaluated by the independent neurologist, because the hit that he had was the one that we had a couple of years ago, which was part of the reasoning behind numerous concussions. And then also when you heard his radio, one of the first things out of his mouth when they asked him if he was okay, I think I'm good, but my head hurts, or something of that nature. Just paraphrasing what he said, but so that's not a good sign.
No.
And, he clearly he was a little shaken during his like little interview after he got out of the car in the infield care center. But you can't tell me that they're able to diagnose a concussion right there, or that NASCAR actually does that. I mean, with everything that's gone on, do you actually trust NASCAR to be doing anything?
Well, and we'll get
dotting
we'll
i's,
give it a
crossing t's
whole
right now.
yeah, we'll give it a whole night, and obviously we'll see how he is tomorrow. But just make sure you're available if you need to pivot some lineups.
I was just gonna say, the one thing about putting him in a lineup though is he's expensive enough to where it opens up the possibility to plug in anybody.
Yeah, and maybe have
But I do think Blaney is he's an easy
maybe
play.
have a 2v2 where if you're like Blaney's all of a sudden not going to be driving, which for all reasons there's not really a reason to consider that too likely, but there's enough there that you want to have a plan in place. So if you have to make a pivot and you're like, okay, well, Blaney's not driving, I'm going to go down to Kyle Busch, and then I'm going to take whoever back up, or I'm going to change to this person or whatever. And then Martin Truex starting 12th. If you want to play him, good on you. I will not. He looked fast.
Martin Truex Jr. is a bet only driver. I don't see him getting up to the front or competing with the other 3 Toyotas or Kyle Larson this week.
Yeah, I'm fading him. I may get egg in my face. We'll see. Okay, so we talked about Blaney and Truex. Chase Elliott, really compelling, starting 18th, 9,500. Could be a great pairing, an easy click with Kyle Larson. So if you're looking to be different in tournaments, maybe not those two together. Where's your head at with Elliott? Is he somebody, because not super amazing here, but looks fast, but also qualified 18th. Like, where are you at with him?
So I messed around with the lineup prior to jumping on here, and for me, I think Blaney and Elliott were kind of interchangeable in what I was trying to build, just simply because I think Elliott had the better car in practice, but from what we've seen recently at this track type, Blaney has the higher upside. And so clearly, I think you would prefer to play Blaney. All things equal, no issues with him racing tomorrow. You're going to play Blaney, but I do think there's a world where Elliott, despite him not finishing very well at Vegas the past couple of times we've come here, that he is a top 10 driver and potentially is, top 5 at the end of the day, because from what we saw in practice, there weren't very many cars as good as him in the practice session.
Yeah. The only thing, and we talked a little bit about this before hopping on, but Chase is the king of starting and ending kind of where he is.
Yep.
And if you look at his last few starts, in the spring, started 11th, finished 12th. Last fall, started 35th, finished 32nd. The race before that, started 20th, finished 22nd. The race before that, started 5th, finished 9th. Go back to 2021 when he started 11th and finished 2nd. But before that, 8th, 13th, 3rd, 22nd, 10th, 26th. Like, he's had some good results. He's had some strong finishes in stage 1 and stage 2, but finishing the race forward from where he started has not been something he's been very good at doing. So I think for me, as good as he looked, I think I'm not going to be on it. And I think maybe he's, I mean, I don't know. Part of me is like, he's a top 10 car probably, but like,
Well, I was just going to say too, and one of the comments I made to you before jumping on here, and we've heard like Wormy, he mentions this about certain drivers during his pre-race poll, but when is the last time you've seen Chase Elliott drive through the field to gain track position? He just hasn't done that in 2024. And like he's clearly a ring below the 24 and the 5 in the HMS garage right now. And so, you're kind of playing the odds that he found something this year as opposed to previous results at this track, which it's definitely possible. I've mentioned it multiple times with him this year. Like, he seems like the Kevin Harvick of 2024, where his car is just good enough to be like around the top 5 or be like a 5th through 7th or 8th place car, but he doesn't have race winning speed. And the same could be said this week, but he winds up finishing 7th or 8th because of, pit strategy. And then you're stuck with $9,500 for, nine placement points, 0 fastest laps, and maybe 1 or 2 laps led just because of a pit cycle. Like, I don't think it's worth it.
And he's gonna be extremely popular. So I'm just, it's especially if you want to click him in cash, makes sense. A lot of the field is going to be on him. If he has a good race, then you're there with him. If he has a bad race, then the field's with you and it's not going to kill you. In tournaments, I'm just going to flat out take him in my player pool. Maybe it's dumb. Maybe I'll end up regretting it. But like Blaney is going to be my chalky guy, and I'm going to kind of go other ways around Elliott's price. Let's talk 8s. Chastain starting 7th. Kyle Busch 20th. Ty Gibbs starting 8th. Alex Bowman starting 3rd. There's 4 drivers in the 8K. Kyle Busch is interesting given where he's starting, and I don't know this pattern of like me being interested in Kyle Busch every week is where it's coming from or why I keep doing it, but it just he keeps popping up. And then Bowman's I think gonna be super low loaned. Gibbs, like, this is a weird range. Like, Chastain, Gibbs, and Bowman are all starting a lot farther ahead than I think most people want. Gibbs would probably be the easiest click of the 3. So people are probably just going to come, if they stop in the 8s, they're going to grab Kyle Busch and keep going. But I guess, is there a world where Chastain, Gibbs, or Bowman makes sense to you?
So it's hard for me to get to Busch. I was looking at him starting in 20th position. I know he's been pretty good here. He was really good at Kansas the 2 times we've gone there this year, and those are probably 2 of the closest, or that's like the closest track to Las Vegas. And so I think the assumption is he's going to drive well here. But in the spring he started 21st, he wound up 26th. We go back to 2023, he had 2 differing race results there, 14th and 3rd. So, I mean, you don't really know what you're getting out of the 8 camp. And then, Gibbs, I think he fell off a little bit more. I do think that Bowman group is the most interesting from a pivot perspective because he also holds that like vengeance mentality going into this weekend, very similar to Denny Hamlin. And we've seen Bowman perform surprisingly well at Las Vegas before, where he's run in the top 3, as the 3rd Hendrick guy. And I mean, honestly, if you play him as starting 3rd at 8,100 and he runs inside the top 5 all day, grabs a couple of laps led, maybe like 10, 15 laps led just based on pit cycling, and has, a handful of fastest laps, I don't think that's going to kill you. And he's not going to be on very many rosters with this starting position either.
Yeah, he has a wide range of results, but this is a guy who in 2022 won the race, and then in 2023, both spring, was 3rd. But as Brian mentioned, cooler weather, maybe a little more similar to spring. Maybe factor that in a little bit when you're kind of mixing between. He's interesting, probably a better bet than DraftKings play, but if you want to if you're like, I need a potential early dominator, I need to get off schedule to put in Blaney, to put in Chase, to put in some of these other guys, he could make some sense.
Yeah,
Let's
and
talk.
then
Go ahead.
before we get out of that range real quick, I will say I think Chastain qualifying 7th kind of removes him from the like excited play at Las Vegas. Although coming into the week, he was one of the most popular guys in the betting markets, just top 10, top 5 perspective, and he showed it in practice and qualifying, running tremendous laps. He is the one guy that I feel that is not part of the playoffs that I would say has the highest chance of winning this race, simply out of he showed tremendous short run speed in practice. We've seen him do it already this year, and he did it on the biggest stage last year in the championship race. And so Chastain running at a track that he's been successful at in the past, starting with track position, which he doesn't normally have anywhere. I mean, he's not really a great qualifier. He's interesting. It's just difficult to try to have a build behind that. You're really gambling. I mean, it is Vegas, so why not do it? But you're really gambling that he's able to win.
Yeah. You need him to be a contender starting 7th to 8,800.
Yeah.
Let's talk 7Ks. Keselowski 17th, Buescher 22nd. Shocker that no one saw coming. RFK didn't qualify well.
Yeah,
Bubba
right.
Wallace starting 19th, Chase Briscoe 24th, Daniel Suarez 23rd, Austin Cindric starting 11th.
Also not shocking.
Lots of compelling options, all kind of mid to backpack drivers, reasonably affordable. Who is jumping out to you as like the most compelling targets of this range?
This isn't a great range. I mean, obviously, I love Bubba Wallace. He showed really good speed in practice. He did have some decent fall off, but I think that could be capped come race day, dependent on whether he was running in traffic or he was trying some different things during the practice session. Wallace is normally good at 1.5. This is a track where we've assumed they were going to be really good because the 2311 camp is always really good at Kansas. So I like Bubba, but I do think that my two favorites here are definitely going to be the RFK boys, simply because of their ability to look like shit in practice in terms of overall speed and qualifying, and then come race day, just outdrive everybody in terms of long run speed, managing their tires, and finding a way up to the front. So I think both of those guys are legit top 10 contenders, and you're getting them at a fairly decent discount underneath 8K, starting 17th and 22nd. So I think you can't go wrong with playing one or possibly both of the RFK guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they're both compelling. I think they're both going to be popular, but not in a excruciating way. I'm in on Bubba. I think he makes some sense, and I mentioned to you a little bit before we started recording, but I think Daniel Suarez is going to be one of my write ups for the newsletter, which aoppodcast.substack.com, aoppodcast.substack.com, our completely free newsletter with our favorite DraftKings plays, our favorite bets, our full betting card, links to the episodes, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you check that out. It's completely free. Click subscribe. Comes in your email every race day, and it is a nice thing. And Suarez, with the weather, I'm even a little more interested, given he's been better in the spring here than in the fall. So, and if we like
Very true.
Chastain, maybe Trackhouse just brought some decent cars to the track, and we can hopefully have a nice day for the 1 and the 99. 6K, Gregson, Jones, Barry, SVG, Hocevar starting 6th, McDriver, Austin Dillon, Zane Smith, Richard Stenhouse Jr.
What a world.
Just like a lot of names, nothing really like super enticing. We're gonna have to find value, and maybe that means going below 6K to find it because do you want to build lineups and stuff? But like, if I told you had to mention, you have to pick one name and potentially two. Do you have a name that you can fall on?
Look, this is going to be disgusting, but I actually don't hate playing Hocevar starting sixth. Even if he falls back a couple of spots at $6,400, I think he's definitely a top 15 or so car just in terms of overall speed here. And he showed it in the spring. He finished 15th here. We're after qualifying 14th, so it's not like he fell off far from what he was able to do on track on Saturday. And that was also during a race where the Fords showed up much better pre-race on Sunday, and they qualified better on Saturday. So, I think Spire has got something going right now, and they've shown a lot of speed here over the last month or so with Hocevar grabbing, three of the last four races, finishing inside the top 18 and then finishing third at Watkins Glen. Like, where the hell did that come from? He was 16th at Atlanta, 11th at Daytona prior to that. So it's disgusting. And there's massive risk there. But if he can just hold on for a top 15 at $6,400, you're going to lose points based on him losing positions, but he's going to get that 15th place finishing result at 6,400, which is going to be better than trying to get these schlubs behind him, Ricky Stenhouse, which his ceiling is probably 24th.
Yeah. And I will say, looking at top 10 odds, Hocevar on Caesars is plus 110, the same as
There you
Bubba
go.
Wallace, the same as Brad Keselowski, longer than Busher, Cindric, SVG, Briscoe, just shorter than Gibbs, Bowman, Blaney. So pretty compelling range to get to be in top 10 conversation. Obviously, starting sixth really helps that, but he could easily be, beyond Busher, kind of near Cindric. Given where Cindric's starting, but no, they think he can be sort of interesting, and I don't think you're crazy, especially because like Jones, whatever, but Barry no interest, SVG no interest, McDowell probably no interest, definitely no Austin Dillon interest, no
Especially
Zane.
where he's starting.
Yeah, exactly. Like given price, starting everything, it's hard to get there. Let's talk 5K because maybe we can convince ourselves some of these guys are a little better. Justin Haley, 16th. Todd Gilliland, 30th. Harrison Burton, 31st. And his NASCAR Cup career is seeming to be coming to an end. We'll see if he can make his way back up. Priest, 32nd. John Hunter, 26th. Jimmy Johnson, Corey LaJoy, Daniel Hemrick, and Cody Ware. We barfed at 6K. Can we kind of pull ourselves together and take another shot with the 5Ks?
Same exact idea with Justin Haley as Carson Hocevar.
No.
And I think it's fair to say that in terms of overall driving, that Haley is better than Hocevar. He doesn't have the lead foot that Carson does. So, clearly, team no lift Carson, he was able to qualify inside the top 10. But I think just in terms of racecraft, I definitely think it leans in Justin's favor there. You're getting 10 different placement points over Hocevar to begin the race. He's cheaper. So I like Haley here, and I will just say Daniel Hemrick starting 33rd. Colleague is garbage, but Chevrolet is much better than the Fords this weekend. And at $5,100, if Daniel Hemrick could even get us 5 freaking placements, just finish 28th, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Looking at ownership projections too, Haley is going to come in a little underweight, so that's really nice. Gilliland's obviously interesting, but where he's starting is having a lot of factor, and I think a lot of people will gravitate that way. Yeah, maybe.
Honestly, when I first looked at DFS and betting odds, this is a tough week post qualifying.
Well, it's basically like so much of kind of what we expected, the guys that we thought would be good are good, and it's all kind of settling. Some of the guys that we kind of like to play as like back markers are starting way farther forward than we're comfortable with.
Yep.
The guys that are starting farther back are priced up, and obviously it's going to be very popular because everyone's going to pile in on them. So, I don't know. Corey LaJoy, like kind of like Rick Ware.
Yeah, but again, dude, I'm telling you, the Fords, they looked like
That's
they were
true.
towing cement blocks
Yeah.
compared to everybody else outside of Logano and I would say Cindric in
Yeah.
qualifying. Like everybody else, they were significantly slower than
And
the
we
rest of
talk
the
about
field.
Penske here. They always qualify well.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're traditional qualifiers and then they sink like rocks. So
Yeah. Yeah. Harrison Burton used to be decent here, but he's just gotten worse every time.
and
He
I
gets
think
bored.
too, Rick Ware, for instance, here back in the spring, Justin Haley finished 27th and Kaz Grala finished 31st. And I think you can safely say Las Vegas is more about just the speed in the car than it is anything else. Like if
Yeah.
your car doesn't have speed here, you're not going to be able to make up for whatever deficiencies you have, or
With
your
that being
good traits are
said,
not going to make up for it.
yeah, no, I think that makes a ton of sense. With that being said, let's build some lineups, Brian. We'll put Kyle Larson and we'll see where we can go. Who do you want next? Anywhere?
Let's be disgusting. Daniel Hemrick.
Barf. But I appreciate you doing that. Let's see here. I'm going to go under the impression that YRB is fine, and I'm going to play him.
All right. Okay. I like this build already. So we're gonna get risky. Denny Hamlin.
Certainly a decision. It's actually not putting us in that. A good thing we have Hemrick because kind of makes everything else work. I feel like we need some kind of like we need some more like middle ground guys. I mean, I guess let's figure out how
I
cheap we
think this
want
is
to
a good
go.
spot for Suarez.
Okay.
Like if you like Suarez, I think this is a good build to have him. So you build around the Chevys with like a
Yeah.
Ford and a Toyota who we think are going to be strong.
Yeah. I think we need more Toyota exposure, but it's gonna put us in a weird spot. We could just pencil in Haley.
I think that's a very when you think about the roster percentage that Larson, Blaney, and Hamlin are going to take in, you're going to need to get a little bit different with the back marker guys here. And so I think Haley, if he can grab a top 10 at this cost or even stay there.
Yeah, I think if Hemrick can get us a top 20 and Haley can flirt with a top 10, this lineup has legs. And I think even with the names that we have elsewhere, because it's all about like the combination of ownership on all of them. So
Well, and if you were to tell me that the combination of Larson and Denny led over half of this race, it's not, I'm not going to be surprised. Or over like 75% of the laps here, not surprised at all.
yeah. All right, let's build the second one. We can go 3 for 3 with Larson. We can go 2 for 3. I'm fine with that. That being said, I am going to put my winner in, and that is Christopher Bell.
I think we build one without Larson.
Let's do it.
But that's not going to be this one. So put Larson in with Christopher.
that was nice.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do Keselowski. Kez and Busher, I think, are going to both be popular, but I think given Keselowski is more expensive and starting farther forward, it might just give us enough of a salary or like a ownership relief that it's worth taking a shot.
All right. Let's see what we can do by putting in one Bubba Wallace.
Okay. Yeah. We're fine.
Hey, man. Yeah, no, this is a difficult week. I'm telling you. I feel like your build is either top heavy with scrubs, or you're going to have to avoid the top of the board.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Kyle Larson out. We'll put him in the next one. And I'll tell you why. I think you convinced me that Carson Hocevar is
Oh my gosh.
a
This
click.
is fucking terrifying. Pardon my French.
And he starts 6th. And I don't want like 5 guys starting up there. But I think if we go Hocevar, we can obviously go with a Hamlin, a Reddick. We could do a Logano. We could do a Chase Elliott, even though we're both kind of whatever on him.
Yeah, I'm a little weary of Chase. Look,
especially in tournaments.
I think you gotta play a little bit of him if practice holds true and he does have as good of a car as he showed. I think you're gonna have to have some exposure to Chase.
We can also throw Busher in there.
Hey, I was just gonna say, you play Reddick with this lineup, you have the potential to.
There we go. We did it again. Busher, Bell dominate like Louis Larson, Hamlin won. And they're both competing for the win. They both lead a 70% of laps. And then Bubba Busher are, there's like 3 top 10 guys kind of in this 4.
And I was just gonna say, Hocevar is probably gonna come in at like 5% roster percentage,
maybe less.
Yeah, especially where he's starting.
Okay, I love it.
All right, so this has to start with Larson then. If we didn't have him in that one.
Done and done. The question is, do we want to do Willie B and do the Hendrick dominates? Do we want to do the Hendrick dominates with Alex Bowman? Do we want to just Larson and a bunch of Toyotas? Because we were talking pre-recording. I feel like we've said that like 40 times. If you were playing a drinking game,
we talked a while before jumping on.
Yeah, if you take a drink every time we say before we started recording, you'd be blacked out by now. But
I think this is the perfect opportunity to play Elliott. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Because again, like you're shooting for ceiling here, and although I don't bank on it. If his car looks like as it did in practice, we're looking at a top 5 run.
Yeah, like I said, like you said, like I said, like we all said, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
That being said, Kyle Busch, welcome to the lineup.
Oh my gosh, we are going down in flames, folks.
We're gonna go down. We're gonna do it spectacularly.
You got to put Blaney in here and see how we can maneuver this.
I was just looking at that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Let's get disgusting. I mean, I think we just put Justin Haley in, and then
what if we go to?
We don't have to do that.
I mean, you said you kind of liked LaJoy. I think the Fords absolutely suck.
Yeah, so let's.
But I mean, he's starting 35th. I don't know. Stenhouse at 6, and then you could probably come back with like Hemrick.
Yeah.
Because I feel like playing Hemrick again, it hurts you the least of any of these guys, because he does have top 25 potential for sure. He's actually done that. I'm just looking at his numbers. I think he's finished like 21st, 17th, and 19th or something in his last 3 trips here. So
What about John Hunter Nemechek?
Look, you can put him in there, but I am not going to say one positive thing about that guy in betting or DFS. Every single time that I've played him in fantasy or in a bet, he has bit me in the ass. So
He
I don't have anything
started
negative to say, but
he started 27th. He finished 22nd in the spring. He's in a Toyota. We famously love Toyotas.
he's in the legacy
know.
Toyota. They are garbage.
I know, but he's in our lineup. Welcome. Now we have to decide between like trash bags. Like William Byron is going to be running into one of these guys and get him stuck on their hood. We can't do Harrison Burton, right?
No, absolutely not.
And we can't do Ryan Preece.
I mean,
And we definitely, so Harrison Burton is out. Jimmy Johnson is out. Cody Ware is out.
of these guys,
Priest, LaJoy, Hemrick. The other option is we pivot off of Chase Elliott, who we both famously hate.
but who are you going to play over Elliott?
Let's see. Let's take him out and see what happens. Because then we could do.
Yeah, but you're not. The thing is that Elliott is starting so far back.
Yeah.
You're not really gaining any value. Honestly, the only way that I feel like taking Elliott out makes sense is playing like a Suarez or maybe one of the RFK guys. But
well, we could do both. We could do Suarez plus Busher.
Oh yeah, see, I don't hate that.
And see Suarez plus Busher versus, or even we
Elliott.
take Suarez and we have 75, so we could do Busher plus. We could do Busher plus Bubba. And I feel so much better about Busher and Bubba than I do about Chase and whoever we were going to put in with LaJoy and John Hunter. And maybe
Yeah, but
as a tournament play, we should be going with Chase plus some jabroni. And
I was just going to say, so like, okay, when you look at this lineup though, so the ceiling of both Bubba and Christopher Busher is probably a top 10 at best. I don't see either of those two guys competing for a top 5 position. Whereas if the car is legit from what we saw in practice, I mean, the ceiling for Elliott is a top 5 here.
I freaking hate when we do this because it's correct. Like we need to be pushing ourselves into weird ways. So
we don't like it, but
who's the jabroni we're putting in? Is it a Corey LaJoy or is it Daniel? It's LaJoy for me. It's LaJoy, Hemrick, or Priest, and I don't love
out of this group. Daniel Hemrick's average finishing position here in the 3 races that he's run in the next gen is 19.3 versus Priest, which is 24.8, and LaJoy, formerly in a Chevy, at 24.8 as well. So
I will say Priest is started 31st, 23rd, 32nd, finished 26th, and 36th and finished 23rd. He's starting 32nd. If we get a
Hemrick started 6th, finished 17th, started 16th, finished 22nd, started 34th this spring, finished 19th.
Are we really going to do Hemrick in 2 lineups?
Look, if we're going to play either one of them, it's got to be Priest for me. I have zero faith in RWR here.
Oh, wait, so we're playing Priest?
Yeah, so I don't mind playing Priest.
Okay.
I don't like it. Again, I've just freaking disgusting, but
what a lineup.
Again, however, like you said though, we could go off of that and you could pivot and take Elliott out and play both Bubba and Busher.
No, it's too comfortable, it's too easy. I'm not doing it. We are going to go to the lobby.
We are sinking.
We are going to go to some tournament action. We're going to pick, we're going to have NASCAR. Perfect. First, I'm going to go to the 3 Max, which is right here. And I'm going to.
I love it when we get confirmation that Kyle has entered the lineup.
And then we're going to do... Let's find a sexy single entry. There we go. 2K to first, $12.
This sounds terrifying, but by the way.
And here we go. We're going to put the Priest, Nemechek, Larson, Elliott, Bush, Blaney lineup in. Boom. Yeah. So when I win 2K tomorrow, we can thank each other.
Oh my god.
All right. Let's talk odds and see what we're betting. If we're betting, are we betting? I'm going to refresh it. Tyler Reddick plus 650.
That's actually not that bad.
That's really good. Tempted to add it. We'll see. Larson 325. I think
this
350 in market's the best number.
360 at BetMGM, I believe.
5-1 on Bell. 525 on Reddick. You can get the boost at Caesars. Hamlin 650, all inside 10-1. Are you betting any of these guys or trying to find ways to get exposure on your card if you don't currently have any exposure?
The sports books bent you over, no lube, and just gave it to you.
Did they at least give you a drink first?
No, they did not even sweet talk you. They didn't blow in your ear. They didn't do anything. Here,
Wow.
You can't. If you don't have any action on these guys prior to practice and qualifying, I don't see how you can take any of these numbers. There's no reason that we should have 4 drivers inside 6.5. The fact that Bell, Reddick, and Hamlin all dropped as much as they did post-practice and qualifying, and Larson's number did not move in the positive direction for us is disgusting.
It makes sense. They're not gonna.
Yeah.
They know Chris Wormy's sitting there with just a bankroll just to unload as soon as they move it to like 4-1.
I mean, I will say if Larson, if you see a 4 in front of that, I would not mind firing on that.
What I will tell you, Brian is not in favor of this, but I think it has legs. You take probably Larson, but if you want to do it with someone else, I guess you could do it. And throw a little Max Verstappen, and you call it a parlay, and you can get at MGM, you can get plus 728.
That's actually not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Because Verstappen, he qualified on pole and he won the sprint, right?
And he's
Lando qualified on pole, I thought.
I think Lando qualified on pole for the sprint race, and then Max won. But I haven't been watching as much F1 as I used to. But he's minus 125, and Lando's 2-1, and Carlos Sainz is 6-1. So use that for what you want. So minus 125 on Verstappen, and then you pair it with your Larson, and you can get a little over 7-1.
That's fantastic.
If you're like, I want to bet Larson, I don't care, I need to find a way to do it, I think it's interesting. You could also parlay it with some NFL games, but like it feels like a lot of variance. I'd rather just find one other leg and kind of do it. Unfortunately, it was not the spoiler makers who could make that a crazy number, but that's okay.
Had I just followed my own advice that I was texting Kyle,
you'd be holding a really nice ticket right now.
And bet over 1.5 catches by Foster Moreau and Jaleel McLaughlin alt rushing yards total over parlayed with Larson. I'd be sitting on like a 12-1 ticket right now, but I was too chicken shit to fire on it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could do like Browns money line or Bengals money line against the Browns. Max.
You would have to. Yeah, I was just gonna say. I looked at it. You have to pick like 3 NFL teams money line with Larson to even get it up to reasonable odds. So I would rather just play Max and Larson because you're getting the 2 most likely things to hit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you could do Bengals, Eagles, Larson, but like the Eagles are scary.
Road
That,
games. You're
yeah,
betting 2 money line road games in the NFL. That's
yeah,
sketch.
that's dumb. Um, yeah, and like some of the home teams, like the Niners are minus 125, but they're playing KC. That's terrifying. You could bet the
Exactly.
Steelers, but they're playing with Russell Wilson instead of Justin Fields. This is developing into a more NFL talk than we need.
Yeah. I will say that so the number at BetMGM for Larson at plus 360, I don't think that's terrible.
Yeah, I
If you
think you
don't
need
have a bunch
about
of
350
action,
to bet it.
yeah, if you don't have a bunch of action like I do on Bell, Reddick, and Denny, I don't mind hitting the Larson ticket.
Yeah,
But
and if you have a lot of action on the Toyotas and you want some Larson exposure without going to the outright board, you could do Top Chevy.
yep.
Um, I know it's not quite as fun, but it definitely opens up a lot of room for variance and Larson
And
feeling. feels
and
pretty
it's
good.
plus money too on Caesars right now. It's plus 115 Top Chevy for Larson. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to pivot off of him winning because you're having to lay more coin than you're getting back for top 3. Top 5 is you're priced out of that too. Like,
Yeah. And if you do want to go against Larson, look at the top Chevy market, whether you like Ross Chastain or Chase Elliott or Alex Bowman or Carson Hocevar.
yeah.
Have fun. So if we're like starting at 10-1 and working down, Byron, Elliott, Martin Truex, Logano, Chastain, Tyrone Gibbs, Kyle Busch, Alex Bowman, Blaney Hocevar is inside 30-1. Anyone that's compelling to you?
Well, I think first of all you got to realize that 0 non-playoff drivers have won the fall Vegas race since it became a part of the playoffs. That's the first tidbit you need to realize. So don't go crazy on betting Chastain, Truex, Gibbs, Bush, even Bowman for that matter. You maybe pick one of them, add them to your ticket, and just pray. But I think it's definitely going to be a playoff driver because all of these teams, they come locked and loaded for the final round to get into the championship four. So for me, it's difficult to get off of any of those guys. And I really don't think you can bet Logano at this number. 14-1 for a guy who he sinks like a rock every time we come here. He qualifies well and then is shit on race day. And then Elliott too. You cannot bet 12 on Chase Elliott when he has been dog shit in Vegas.
I
No
will
matter what
say,
he looked like in practice.
practice model and win the race. Elliott and Logano are both prominently featured in the top 5. So do with that what you will.
I don't hate that too, but I mean, also people can say that Christopher Bell didn't look great in practice either. But post his poll in his post poll presser, he said like, "I love my car."
Yeah.
You're going to tell me that you're going to bet against that?
I love Christopher Bell, and it's not because I have a ticket on him to win.
Sure.
I wish it was like if you gave me like 18 on Logano, I think I would be in. But we're not obviously not going to get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like
You
is
can
one of
get
those
Christopher Bell 9-1 at Bet365 right now.
If you're watching live, which none of you are, you can grab that number.
It might still be available in the morning, though. I mean,
all right. Well, we did it, Brian. We went through it. Is there anybody else you want to mention as we kind of round out? Obviously, you mentioned about the playoff drivers. I just want to, before I move on and kind of close out the show, is there anything else you want to drop before we get out of here for the people that have made
the only non-playoff drivers odds who I actually added a tiny tidbit on this was Chris Buescher here at Caesars at 40. He's never been great here at Vegas, but he just has a tendency to show up and have good long run speed. They develop track position throughout the race, and 40 is too good of a number for somebody who I think could surprise. I don't know.
The only legitimate outright I have right now is Chris Bell. I bet Ty Gibbs because I want to be on it if he wins. I don't know if he's going to win this week, but I grabbed a little tiny nibble. I think Bell wins. I feel like I want another outright, but I just, given price and what we're looking at, I don't think it's going to happen, but make sure you check out the Substack to see if we ended up falling on that and what other bets we added, because bets are being added to the card as we speak. We were up here late on the West Coast. We'll be up probably too late, but that's okay. The card will be full. Bets will be made. Fun will be had until we don't tomorrow. I'm very excited about the race tomorrow, Brian. I'm excited to watch Christopher Bell get to victory lane and lock in his spot in Phoenix for the championship. I'm excited to see what Wormy's talking about on the pre-race poll tomorrow. I'm excited to see what you give us from the track. Make sure you're following Brian on the X machine or Twitter, if you still call it Twitter like me. We'll be posting stuff. I'll try and retweet it from the show account, AOP Podcast. No, FPAOP. I don't know. It's all linked in the description. Check it out there. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. Enjoy the race. Let's cash some tickets. Let's win some money on DraftKings, and let's get back to talk all about it after the fact. We'll talk to you next time.